Okay, so we all think we know the Christmas story, right? But what if I told you we're going to look at it from a totally different angle, through the eyes of its most unsung hero?
Yeah, you know the lineup. Mary, baby Jesus, the shepherds, the wise men. They get all the attention. But today, we're going to focus on that quiet guy in the background, the one who kind of just fades into the scenery of our nativity sets. We're talking about Joseph. And trust me, behind that calm, carved wooden figure is this story of a huge personal crisis. I mean, a massive test of character. And a choice that, no exaggeration, literally changed the course of human history.
So to really get Joseph, you have to try and put yourself in his shoes. I mean, really feel the absolute crushing weight of the situation he was suddenly thrown into.
Just imagine this for a second. Your fiancé, the person you're about to build your life with, comes to you and tells you she's pregnant. And you know for a fact that the child isn't yours. And then she tells you it's a divine act. I mean, your first reaction for pretty much any of us would be, what? Just total disbelief, right?
And right there, in that moment, Joseph held all the cards. I mean, he had an incredible amount of power. He could have completely wrecked Mary's reputation, her entire future, and even her life, all with just one word. And you know what? Everyone would have said he was justified.
And this is where the stakes get really, really different. You know, today, a situation like this, it's devastating. It's emotional turmoil, maybe a divorce, a broken family, a total personal tragedy. But back then, it was a whole different ballgame. Under the law at the time, the penalty wasn't just public shame, it was public stoning. As one of our sources put it, it was certain death. That's the reality Joseph was looking at.
So, okay, he's facing this absolutely brutal reality. And remember, this is before any angels show up in his dreams. So what does he do? Well, his very first choice, man, it tells us everything we need to know about his character.
The scripture calls him a righteous man. And that doesn't just mean he was a rule follower, it speaks to his deep-down integrity, his fairness. Think about it. He had to be confused, hurt, probably incredibly angry, but even with all that, our sources point out he had this mountain of love for Mary, and that's what was guiding him.
So his first gut reaction wasn't to get revenge. It wasn't to drag her out for public justice. It was mercy. He makes a plan to just end things quietly, send her away secretly, so she wouldn't have to face the public disgrace and, that horrific fate. It's amazing, really. His character was defined by his compassion long before it was defined by this incredible act of faith.
But then everything changed. This was the big pivot point for Joseph, a moment of divine intervention that just completely flipped his world upside down and set him on a brand new path for the rest of his life. So an angel shows up in a dream. And get this, the angel doesn't just say, hey, Mary's innocent. It confirms her wild, unbelievable story. But it's more than that. It's not just a message, it's an invitation. An invitation to step up and play an active role, to be the earthly father to the Son of God. Wow. I love how one of the speakers we looked at framed this. They called it a tale of two Josephs. You've got Joseph A. before the dream. He's confused. He's suspicious. He's justifiably stressed out of his mind. And then, after the dream, you get Joseph B. This is a totally different guy. He's got a new mission, he's obedient, he's faithful, and he becomes this trusting protector for his new family.
And this really brings us to what might be the most powerful takeaway from Joseph's whole story. His role as, the perfect model of a supportive father.
You ever wonder about that? I mean, it's a great question. After all the Christmas story stuff and Jesus' childhood, Joseph just kind of vanishes from the story. But here's the thing the speakers pointed out. That's not a mistake. That's not an oversight. That is the entire point.
Why? Because the true role of a father, so often, is to be the supporting actor, right? It's not about you being the hero of the story. It's about providing the safety, the guidance, the encouragement, so that your child can be the hero. And Joseph, he lived this out perfectly. He was happy to fade into the background. And this whole idea was really brought home by this touching personal story from one of the guys in our source material. He talked about his step-grandfather, a man who raised him like he was his own son. And he said, he didn't have to do that. I wasn't his, but he took me in and didn't look back. And man, that is exactly what Joseph did for Jesus.
So when we put it all together, what we're left with is a completely new way of looking at this figure we all thought we knew.
Think about it. He could have said, I'm out, and his entire community, his friends, his family, they all would have backed him up. They would have said, you did the right thing. But he didn't. He stayed. He chose the harder path. He chose faith over fear. He protected his family, even fleeing to another country to keep them safe, and he dedicated his whole life to raising a son that wasn't his own.
So I guess I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time you see a nativity scene, who are you going to see in Joseph? Are you going to see just a static background character? Or are you going to see a man of incredible, quiet strength, of profound love, and a faith that truly and very, very quietly changed the entire world?